Welcome back, everyone, to another Downward Day. And first and foremost, let me just apologize for a little bit of the theatrics you saw on the last video. Got a little heated talking about stars. You know, it was unprofessional. That's not the type of environment we strive to create on this channel, so you'll have to accept my sincerest apologies for that. But to make it up to you, I'll make a video today talking about reboots, proving that I'm capable of being just as sophisticated and not unhinged as any other YouTuber out there. And if you yourself have possibly been experiencing a little bit of anxiety over your favorite media franchise being ruined, just as mine was, I think I've devised a new tried and true trick to never have to feel so irate again when your favorite franchise gets stomped into the dust. You see, possibly the biggest reason why I had such a negative emotional reaction to the Star Wars sequel trilogy was that I went into them with high expectations. I expected them to be actually competently made films with even a semi-interesting story, and apparently those expectations and that standard is too rich for modern day movies. Turns out that the seeds for heartbreak are primarily sown by great expectations. If you expect something to be even above average nowadays, it's just gonna burn you in the end. You should not expect anything, especially coming out of Hollywood and the entertainment industry, to be good anymore. I realize now that all this pain and anguish I suffered at the hands of the Rise of Skywalker, and a little bit from The Last Jedi, it could have simply been avoided if I had went into the entire experience expecting it to suck. I think at this point it's fair to say that everyone should expect any sort of sequel or reboot of their favorite franchise to suck, because that's honestly par for the course. If you look at the aggregate of all the films and TV show reboots that have come out in the past 10 years, the median quality of that most likely sucks. So why should you expect your favorite sequel or reboot to be any different? It, like most things, is probably going to wind up being average, and right now average is poor. It's average to be poor with modern day Hollywood reboots and sequels. So why expect anything different? Why have this imagination that they're somehow going to throw a Hail Mary and then all of a sudden it's just going to be good? It's going to be good and memorable and not a complete waste of time. Sure, maybe you could believe that 25 years ago, but this is 2023. This is the current year. This is the current state of entertainment in society. It doesn't exist to be good. All that heavy lifting was already done generations ago. It exists now to simply put you in a colorful simulation of possibly a time and a place where you weren't so desperately miserable, where you didn't have to be on 6 kinds of antidepressants every day at all times just to simply exist and function in society. They're designed to evoke a better time. They're not designed to stand on their own. So don't expect them to. Expect them to be bad. And hey, you can take it one step further. You see, I went into The Rise of Skywalker expecting it to suck, and I still had my soul sucked out of my body. So what happened? What went wrong? Well, it turns out that even though I knew the movie was probably going to be unsatisfactory based on the copious amounts of storylines and incomprehensible plot elements that was shaping up to be an impossibility to satisfyingly resolve in simply one concluding film, it turned out in this situation that even expecting The Rise of Skywalker to suck was still giving it too much credit. Because even when you set your expectations low, and boy, for The Rise of Skywalker, my expectations were low, that kind of coping mechanism is still sometimes not enough to shield your heart from getting ripped out regardless. Because while yeah, you can sit there expecting a film to be bad, you have to simultaneously sit there and ask yourself, just how bad could it be, really? Turns out, even worse than what should be possible in the limits of human comprehension. It can still be that bad. You can believe it's going to be bad. It can still be so much worse. So sometimes oftentimes it's not even enough to go into a movie or TV reboot expecting it to be bad. You have to instead expect to be disappointed, as if your super duper low expectations still aren't enough. You can set your expectations as low as possible, and the final product can still fail to meet them. So I suppose that's my advice for all you TV and movie lovers out there. Expect to be disappointed. Expect the final product, no matter how bad you think it's going to be, to perform even a little bit worse than that. And that's how you can succeed at watching movies and TV shows in today's entertainment landscape without having your heart ripped out every few months. Expect to be disappointed. This should be the golden rule going forward. If you're getting ready to watch something like, say, The Incredibles 2, the sequel to one of the greatest animated feature films in history, you should have just followed the rule. Expect to be disappointed. It's just going to be a shell of its former self and painstakingly boring and uninspired. And it's going to contain pretty much none of the elements that actually made the original so unique and interesting. It's just going to be bad. It's going to be mediocre. Should have expected to be disappointed, because it was. And it would have saved me a lot of heartache in seeing another one of my favorite movies pretty much being turned into mediocrity. How about the Sopranos movie, The Many Saints of Newark? Should have known that it was just going to be some random, unrelated story to The Sopranos with a few of the Sopranos characters just haphazardly tacked on for no reason. I mean, sure, young Tony Soprano may have been featured in all the trailers and promotional material, but you should expect him to only be in the movie for like 20 minutes. Even though he's basically being touted as the star of the movie. No, the movie's just going to be about some completely unrelated thing that barely has to do with the Soprano crime family. But they're going to bill it and sell it to you as a Sopranos sequel. The sequel, or I guess prequel, to one of the greatest TV shows in history. Should have expected it to be bad going in. Should have just expected David Chase to run out of talent and bring back this series for no reason when no one was asking for it. I wish I had my crystal ball telling me to not go see it so that another favorite franchise of mine wouldn't be tainted. But no, I should have just stuck to the simple heuristic device. Expect to be disappointed. Should have expected to be disappointed, and I was. And maybe if I followed that rule, well, The Sopranos still wouldn't have not been tainted, but maybe I could have saved myself a little more heartache in that regard. It's a good rule of thumb to follow at this point, in my estimation. And now that you guys all know the trick to not being horrendously disappointed by your favorite franchises utterly falling on their face in the newest pathetic, mediocre, shameless cash grab reboot, you too can now apply it to many of the wonderful films that will soon be flooding the theaters in the next 18 months. I know that Disney just announced that Zootopia 2, Frozen 3, and Toy Story 5 are in production. Oh, I can tell you those are all going to be extremely disappointing. Prepare for it now. Prepare for it now, and you'll feel less bad for somehow still having a shred of naive hope that they could somehow actually be competently made films that actually service the series in a unique or interesting way, rather than just being another milking session of the cash cow. Toy Story 5, Frozen 3, did anyone want these films to be made? No, it's just going to be for a new generation of little kids who haven't yet grown cynical and jaded like me. Who knows, maybe they'll like it, more power to them. Anyone who's probably seen the original films, it's probably just going to be a waste of time. Expect to be disappointed. It's not going to be a good product. I think during the Super Bowl that just happened this past week, there was some kind of teaser for a new Indiana Jones movie coming out this summer. Oh boy, I can't wait to see either an 80-year-old Harrison Ford or some new actor that only resembles Harrison Ford slightly. And I can't wait to see them go to some foreign country in our modern, politically correct world and try to do any of the actual interesting things that made Indiana Jones a unique film. I can't wait to see a new Indiana Jones movie that tiptoes on eggshells around not trying to commit any cultural faux pas or insult any sort of foreign culture. Nothing screams Indiana Jones like that. Boy, I bet you can guess that this reboot is going to be, say it with me now, disappointing. There we go. There. Now you're starting to get it. Now you're starting to get how you should approach movies. It doesn't matter how historically good the original source material was. There's going to be a Futurama reboot coming out in the next couple years. I'm sure that's definitely not going to be disappointing. I'm preparing for it to be, though. Prepare. King of the Hill's coming back. I'm sure that'll be fine. I really hope that's not disappointing. But I'm preparing for it, you know? And yeah, I'm sure that Mike Judge has done a pretty good job with the Beavis and Butthead reboot that came out a few years ago, so maybe he's still sharp. Maybe he's still got what it takes. Most people don't, 30 years after their prime, but maybe the King of the Hill reboot will actually be good. Not expecting it to, but that's where the fun comes in. Now, something being even average and passable, you can be super extraordinarily surprised. Instead of releasing cortisol, you can release dopamine when a new modern day reboot is actually passable and it checks all the boxes of just plain acceptability. I'll be happy. I'll be very happy to see that, because currently as it stands, the bar for Hollywood and entertainment industry reboots, it's very low. And it's probably going to keep going lower. So I hope you guys found this little bit of advice helpful. I know it's certainly helped me as of late to not feel so bad when another one of my favorite franchises gets completely ruined.